We want to take a little bit of time in our service to do some remembrance. And so I have tasked Pastor Kevin with writing a short, and I had to emphasize short, history of the church. And since Kevin is a history teacher, I knew this was in his wheelhouse. And so Kevin, if you would, come right on up here and just share from your heart and perspective a little bit about Merriman Road.
He truly did emphasize the short part. I do want to say that, but how honestly do you shorten 70 years of a church into just a few moments? So I'm going to do my best, but I would encourage you to look for stories like I encourage my history students. Look for stories beyond just what you're told. Seek them out for yourselves among those that are in this room. But the story of Merriman Road Baptist Church begins with a small group of faithful believers that were gathering, desiring to serve the Lord, originally planting what was known as Faith Baptist Tabernacle. Later, 21 members of what became known as Faith Baptist Church gathered together on a November afternoon in 1953, voting to affiliate themselves with the Southern Baptist Convention. Further meetings throughout the rest of 1953 led to the calling of our first pastor, Reverend Starkey. He would hold that position for 10 years, and the name of the church would be changed from Faith Baptist Church to Merriman Road Baptist Church. These first years of Merriman Road saw the expansion of our church through the building of a Sunday school wing, through expanding the sanctuary as we had it, and through the support of multiple missions and church plants throughout the area, such as Inkster Road Baptist Church, what was known as Tonquish Baptist Chapel. All throughout the history of Merriman Road, we find the names of missions and church plants that have been supported by the members of this church. In January of 1963, Reverend Raymond Babb was selected as the second pastor after Brother Starkey's departure. Brother Babb would serve as our pastor for 33 years, and under his leadership, the church would continue to grow, and it would continue to serve God here in the community. In October of 1968, a groundbreaking ceremony was held for a new sanctuary where we now gather here today. It was built with construction finishing in June of 1969, and the story goes that as the members gathered in the old sanctuary, they marched into this building singing, "Holy, holy, holy," and dedicated this space as a sanctuary. Merriman Road's commitment to faithfully serve continued throughout this period as we began our bus ministry, which still continues, and the deacon care ministry, which has grown into our family care ministry. And our commitment to gospel outreach and to support was evident as well all throughout this period, because Merriman Road continued to sponsor church plants and missions, supporting organizations such as Haggerty Road Baptist Mission, Korean Baptist Mission, and the Arab Baptist Church. As we move forward into 1996, Pastor Wayne Parker was called by a unanimous vote to be our third pastor after Brother Babb's retirement. Now, under Wayne's leadership, the church continued to expand. Under his leadership, we expanded now with two separate buildings that we had had for so long, merging into this facility that we now see, with that beginning in 2003. New ministries continued to emerge in this time as we voted to begin a disaster relief team here, as our Faith Riders motorcycle ministry began, and our block party outreach began, which is such a major part of our church calendar each year. But in 2012, our partnership with Send Detroit also began, and that was under Pastor Wayne's leadership as well. Through it, Merriman Road has played a role in sending or supporting church plants. 7 church plants were sent or supported by Merriman Road at the beginning of the Send movement. And through Send Detroit, we've had the opportunity to lead vision tours, to train church planters, to host the Send assessment for prospective planters, and even to send out of our own midst as we sent out 1-8 Church and as we prepare to send out Creekside Church, still involved in the sending ministry. And I say all this to say this, that as we reflect on the history of Merriman Road, we see God's faithfulness and we see God's leadership. Because our story is a story of God's blessing and is a story of that faithfulness. I ran the numbers just because I was curious, and over the past 70 years, our average weekly attendance moved from 73 in weekly Sunday service in 1955 to nearly 600 at its highest point we have on record. Based also on the records we have the last 70 years. We saw a baptism this morning, and we celebrate in that. But we have seen over 1,650 baptisms in 70 years. And this past year, Pastor Wayne said, and this quote is in our history hall, that the life of a church is measured not simply by how many people gather, but by how many we send. And as I looked at the history of Merriman Road, and as you look at the history of Merriman Road, it is the history of God raising up faithful men and women for each generation. That across 70 years, we have seen leadership rise up. We've seen men answer the call of God to enter ministry, to attend seminaries with our church support. We've sent our members out to support church plants, to engage in missionary action. It is God's faithfulness that has built Merriman Road into the place that we know and we love today. And so as we reflect on all that God has done, as we reflect on 70 years, I want to share something from the beginning, that these words were shared at the dedication service of the original building in January of 1955, but I think they still hold true for us. These words were written: "The church of today does not build and then quit. The building process and spirit must continue in order to fulfill the command of our Lord." And as we look to our past, let it challenge us as we look to the future of what God will continue to do.